We're here to talk through the Statue Park Tapa clues puzzle by Prasanna Seshadri, which is our Sunday Stumper. And as I get started, let's just look at this 4x4 matrix of clues in the middle. We're building out to pentominos, so the 5 is going to be a clue just on its own. It's going to be a U or a V, and not want to join into other groups. Group like a 3 is going to be 3 plus 4, so we can mark some edges off like this. 3 could come down to 2, 3 could come over here to 2. Let's sort of think about the economy around this clue. 2 can come up to be a 3, 2 and 1 and 2 looks okay. 2 isn't going to want to come down to the bottom though. 2 plus 2 with another 2 is going to be 4. So 1 can be along this edge or along this edge. So there's some interplay there, but one thing that we should also recognize is we're only going to have single white cells here. So could we, for instance, shade all 3 of these along the 5? No. And if we had this cell in white, we would shade this and this. So actually the tension is probably that the center cell of that 5 isn't able to be shaded because one or these on the other side is always going to be shaded. So we get these 3 over here shaded in. And that marks off this, and marks off this. 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, we've got 7 around, so we always had to shade this cell and this cell. And around this 4 clue, that means this is going to have to be 4 plus 2. So this will be the 2 on this side. 3 is on the other side, and we can mark that in. Mark this off, mark this in, mark this off. We've got some shaded cells here. And what we're not going to do is have a gap over this corner, so 1 into this wouldn't work. So we have a pretty weird count down in the bottom, but this 2 into this cell can't be used. So I think the big breakthrough is to get this 1, 2, 2 with the 5 working well. Marking this off marks these at least in. This comes off. This gets shaded up. This may or may not want to be that 3, but it's going to have to work together with this group over to the right. So let's see how that goes. This U shades down here, shades up here, and all the rest of this is going to be around that 4 clue. This 1 completes the question mark. Can mark these cells off. Was there more we could do around the matrix at the start? It looks like these edges also, the 4s into the 2 2s don't work. So we've got a 2 into a 1 or a 3. If it is the 3, it comes all the way over to here. But this is also a shaded cell. And that's going to cause a problem. So this needs to be a 1 into this 2. And so we have an N in the grid. That's completed. And we have U1 in the grid. We'll mark these as we go so we know the count. What will happen? This 3 is always taking this cell, and the 3 isn't joining over to this 4, so we've got some tension building. This 4 always has to take this cell, but where the 1's already used here, this has to take the 1 from down below. So we can mark these cells in. That marks this off, marks these off. This 2, 2 is now forced. And this takes at least 1 more going out. These are marked off. The 4 now has to take these, which marks this off. That puts in this 3. And now this looks like it will always join to the 2, so we can figure out if that's going to be on the bottom or on the top, or if it actually joins down here to an option. But we've got some more cells we can mark off. We have a Statue Park rule that the whites stay connected, so we've got to get this out, and we also then further need to get out. But we do have a space where getting 2 more put in is going to have some tension down here. So I think we're pretty close to a breakthrough, but not necessarily yet. Can we do some more up around here? Well, some may help by understanding how we're going to work around this 1, 1, 1 with the clues that we have. And actually we haven't. Let's go all the way over here to this 5. This 5 has to work on its own, and it can't use these 2 cells, which means it's forced to be a U. So we actually get this U in quickly too. So all the U's are used in the grid right away at the start. 2, 3 has to take this cell and this cell, and 2, 4 is a pretty big forced shading. This has to get out, so it's going to have to come this way. So the 4 uses the top, and we'll mark all these off. This will be a Y or an L. You can finish this space, and the question mark clue here is already satisfied as well. So what are we going to do here? So this is part of a 3, and the 1 is already used here. So how does this 3 get to 5? 3 could take 2 up above. It could be like this, but we just said all the U's are used. 3 can join down to this 1 and take 1 more up above. Or if this was 1, 3 and 1 is 4, it could come over here, but the 1's already used. So if U is not possible, we just said that the only other way to have this go is for this to join down to the 1 and then take 1 more straight up above. So I1 is now in the grid. That marks this off, marks this off. This 3 joining to this 2 is now forced. That's Y1. Can mark these cells off. That marks these in as forced. And that puts P1 into the grid. Marks this cell off. Do we have others that are still needing to escape? I mean, this looks pretty good. 1, 2, 2 is a forced shading, so if this is the 1 coming here, this is going to be another N, so this is N2. And then 2 coming straight up, these 2 coming straight up. Potentially something around this 3, 3 now, but first we're going to have to deal with one more 1, 1 clue. If this was 1 coming over here to be 3, it could extend all the way out, maybe be an L. So I think there's still some options on that side that aren't limited. This, though, has to take this cell to get out. This has to take this cell to get out. These 2 and these 3 don't want to connect. So actually this is going to have to extend. This comes in here. This is being cramped in to be another P. So this is P2. And that means we're not shading this cell. As any 2 by 2 shaded square would force another P shape. So we've got a good pattern here. We could take this, this cell isn't going to work. If we took it, we would get 4 plus 1 plus 2. So this is 2 with 3 right next to it. Make a W. This has to come out by Statue Park rules. Got W1. This 2, 4 on the side, we'll always shade these in. This marks this off. This now has just 1 coming here. We'll see this will always touch to what's on the 4. It can't be an N, so this option's no good. So the 4 always has to take at least 1 more out to here. This is needed so that the Statue Park keeps all white cells connected. This gets marked in. So this is now a T or a Z. This is to get the Statue Park out. This is to get the Statue Park out. So we've got this growing in, and I can take this cell. You'll always have to take this cell. That's pretty cramped. It actually means like a cell here doesn't work, because you would get 3 and 2. But even the space, like we can't take another P, so we have to shade this in. But in doing that, now this has to escape, so this forces an L, which forces a Y, and that's going to be the second Y, and the first L. But that second Y is going to mark off some of the stuff we already knew. Here we have an F or T. Here we got to take this. We can't take an N, so we take this. It forms another W. W2. Feels like tax season. If 1 came with 3, it has to be able to get out to the grid, so I think the orientation of the 3 here is going to be pretty key. And it's not going to want to form a P shape, so it's got some limitations on what it can do. Is there any other clue that looks really prime? Well, let's look a little at the 3-3 shape. So this is still a statue park. I guess we haven't used this constraint, but that means that this can't be the open cells. It has to be directed in such a way that the cells that allow for escape are there. What that does is probably shuts down. So this is a 2 with a 3. So this group isn't getting any more around it than what's already there. And if this is taken here, then we can't form a P, so this comes in. This would have to come up, but to not be closed, we'd have to take a Y or an L, and we would be making 2 L's at the same time. So that doesn't look good. This being taken is possible. That might form a V. Let's see, if this center one were taken, it would put in another Y, but we've got 2 Y's, so this is no good. This is part of a 2 group, also for 3, but could take 1 more. So this actually can't come together. I think that's what that means. This can come together, though. And so this is an L or an I. But we get V1 into the grid. Let's mark some of these that are either ors. This is ZTF. This is TZ. This is TZ. So right now we have a sort of isolation of this side of the grid if we don't come through this column here. And that may be something that's going to play out in the connectivity constraints. So actually here, I don't believe I'm going to be saying this. Let's play our favorite game of where's the X. Because there's this connectivity constraint over here, like spots like this, we can't put the X because we'd actually now isolate a set of these white cells from the rest. So I don't see any X's on the left of the grid. This isn't an X shape, this is an X shape, this can't build to be an X shape. So all of this is not the X. This looks interesting. Not an X. If I do this, another space like this is now cramped. We have to get up through this column, so this would block off the grid. This 2-2 clue is blocking X's because we can't put you'll always take 1 or 3 cells around and nothing there. So everything except for the bottom of the grid can't be an X. And we actually have 2 to place. So I think, crazily enough, at this stage of the puzzle, these 2 X's need to be placed, and they can only go down on the bottom as I have them. So this will help me make some headway with the clues. For instance, we get a forced F. X1, X2. This still is an either or. For connectivity, I've got to come through here. Connectivity got to come through here, so these need to connect up. So this is a T and an L. So L2 and T1 are now in the grid. TZ, TZ, TF. What is this going to be? Could be the other I, but we have this I's tension, so L is now not here, so this has to be the I. So now this can't be anything but a T or a V, and it would have an issue if it were the V in connecting, so this has to be T2. That means this is Z1, this is Z2. This is actually resolving pretty quickly. This is F2. All of this is going to be open. So we've got to place a single V, and 2 factors that work with that. Well, first it's got to connect to this 2-2 clue, and I see a lot of V's it can be, but I guess this has to be a number. So I've got to connect into the question mark as well. And there we are, V2. And we're through. So every other cell is forced to be white. So a pretty remarkable puzzle. Some good uses of the matrix at the start, particularly clues that couldn't connect to figure out how some of these clusters, like the 5, 1, 2, 2, worked out. Really stellar game of where's my X, actually 2 X's right at the bottom, and then connectivity to root through to the end. So thanks, Prasanna, for this puzzle. Hopefully you got something from watching me solve this puzzle, and we'll see you again soon.